This now, the South African Weather Service has issued a level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms and heavy rains that could lead to localized flooding in some areas of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Now, the Johannesburg Emergency Services Department is urging residents to exercise caution. To unpack this further, I'm now joined by their spokesperson, Robert Malautsi. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us this evening. Always great to have you. Should we be on high alert?
Yes, we did receive that warning from the South African Weather Service that we will be receiving severe thunderstorms from today going in towards Friday, which might cause a flash flood in most of our low-lying areas and also severe weather conditions for motorists out there. So since you know that in most of our informal settlements are already in a flood line, most especially in the city of Johannesburg, we normally get our residents who are in those areas and those who are residing along the river streams like, Jacques Cay, Calfontaine, Klip Valley. So they normally get affected because of the areas which they are. So far, we have not yet recorded any major incidents where we had to evacuate maybe a specific area throughout the city of Johannesburg. So we've got our disaster management monitoring teams in those areas, monitoring to make sure that if there's any, we do receive, situations of flash floods, we can be able to deal with those situations. Hence, we continue to encourage our residents not to cross river streams now and make sure that they monitor young kids to stay away from those areas because we know as and when these river streams, the water levels are much more higher, young kids will be tempted to play next to these areas.
Now let's talk about some of the rains that we've experienced now recently as well. I don't think it was that of such a heavy downpour that there has been many floods in areas, but there has been some cases. What have you been experiencing up until now? Has it been as bad as what it is previous years?
Yes, I would say yes. We did had a number of incidents where roads were affected in areas like Lenasia, Protea Glen, and also the area of Rodiport area, where we had a lot of damages in those areas. And of course, we had situations where we lost, a number of our residents in the city. Looking at the situation which happened in Alexander, where over 15 people lost their lives there during that church ritual, and also 2 weeks later on, we had that situation in Soweto, where about 3 also people lost their lives during a church ritual, which is a very much a concern for us because as and when we receive this kind of rainfalls, it means most of our communities, especially our communities or church communities who prefer to conduct their baptism maybe along these river streams, they will be tempted to go in those areas. So our message is that we are pleading with the church communities to make sure that they exercise caution as and when they conduct these church rituals. And of course, as a service, we have taken a strategy to say that prevention is the future. We are putting more resources, more energy, in terms of making sure that we empower our residents by giving them the necessary skills to deal with emergencies in their communities. This situation being the one of them. So we're saying to those communities to say they must contact us so that we can come there and be able to train them or give them the necessary skills to be able to conduct those kind of rituals so that we can be able to prevent incidents which we have witnessed in the last few months or weeks. So we've got our public education officials who normally go out to communities. They can call us on our central reservation number, which is 011-758-5050. So these men and women, they go out on a day-to-day basis. We don't wait for emergencies to happen. Because as a fire service now, in 2023, we cannot be measured by the number of incidents we respond to, but we can be measured by the number of incidents we prevent. Hence, the strategy is mainly focusing on prevention. So we conduct this kind of training under trees. It can be a community center, it can be a church, it can be in an open space where community members can gather. we are able to come to wherever they are to be able to conduct this kind of trainings. And also our residents are also able to visit our Be Safe centers, because these Be Safe centers are specially designed for communities to visit. Most of them are based at our fire stations. So we've got all these Be Safe centers spread in our all 7 regions of the city, where our residents can be able to visit us between Monday and Friday, between 8 and 4, to be able to receive this kind of training. These kind of trainings are conducted for free. Our residents are welcome to utilize these resources, because these kind of centers are actually designed for our communities to be able to utilize them. As I said earlier, the strategy is that prevention is the future. So we're putting more emphasis and energy and all our resources in making sure that we empower our residents. So we're hoping that working together, we will be able to deal with water-related emergencies as and when we have severe thunderstorms. We'll be able to work together to prevent incidents of fires during fire seasons. So this is the kind of interventions we are putting together as a City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services, to be able to, make sure that we empower our residents to deal with this kind of emergencies.
Yeah, it's very it's amazing that you are doing that, because I actually spoke to a colleague of mine when those incidents occurred with the baptisms that occurred, and unfortunately those people losing their lives. And I said it's so important for the church leaders to realize that when these floods, when these heavy rains happen, that the rivers are unstable. You can't just, go in and practice your baptisms. So it is very important that they are aware of this and take extra precaution when it comes to performing these rituals. So thank you so much for actually doing that. And then, of course, you did mention earlier motorists. Of course, that's also another huge problem. Traffic is already a mess as it is when it's just raining on a normal day. But of course, when it's an alert like this, should motorists take extra caution? Of course they should, but should they also rather, maybe if they can, wait out the rain before taking on the roads?
Yes, if they catch you in a storm, of course we advise them to maybe park on the side of the road to wait for the storm to pass, and then they continue with their journey. However, as and when they're driving, most of the roads, you find out that they're wet and slippery. They need to make sure that they extend the safe following distance, they are visible, the headlights are on. And as and when they get to areas which are flooded, or bridges which are flooded, roads which are flooded, we advise them to try and avoid crossing those areas, because especially your public transport, your taxis, your buses, you find out that they try and take a chance to cross these areas, even though you find out that maybe the road is barricaded, it's closed, and there are officials which are informing them to use alternative routes, but they still continue to try and take a chance to cross those areas. So those are some kind of messages we try and make sure that we utilize our City of Johannesburg social media platform. I think we've got a good Twitter account which is very active, which we use to educate our residents about all these kind of emergencies, and also situations when we get platforms like this to interact with our residents over televisions and radio. We try and make sure that we inform our residents as to what is it that they can do. As I alluded earlier, that the strategy is that prevention is the future. We need to make sure that we empower our residents with all the necessary skills. They might not need those skills today, but tomorrow they might need them. So it will be a very tricky situation or bad situation if we don't give them these necessary skills. On the day when they require these skills, they don't have them, so they're not going to be able to take care of this, some of the emergencies which they come across on a day-to-day basis. So our line now which we're taking is that we have to make sure that on a day-to-day basis out there, we go out, we make sure that we empower them, we give them the necessary skills to be able to prevent incidents as and when they occur wherever they are.
Yeah, fantastic. And of course, that number that you mentioned earlier, the hotline number that people can call, I think that's very important for those watching.
Yes, it's not a number to call for emergencies. That one is for public education purposes. So
to be part of the program.
Yes,
and to
so we're inviting them
do.
to call us on 011. That's a central reservation number because we've got these Be Safe centers throughout the city. But this one, the number which I'm giving them, is a central reservation number which they call, which is 011-7585-050. Then they can be able to be referred to a specific Be Safe center. We've got a Be Safe center in Ivory Park. We've got a Be Safe center in Orange Farm. We've got a Be Safe centers in the inner city. We've got Be Safe centers in the Soweto area. We've got 3 of them in Soweto area. So there's no excuse we will be waiting for those, phone calls from our communities inviting us to come where they are and also to visit our Be-Safe centers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us this evening. And thank you for the work that you're also doing, and good luck out there.
Thank you very much.
Great. That's Johannesburg Emergency Services spokesperson Robert Malahutsi.